After serving on the Board of Selectmen for 22 years, Helen Donohue gave her last Selectman addenda Tuesday night. The board went around and expressed their best wishes to Mrs. Donohue.
You know, this being the last meeting and all, I've been really grateful that I've been able to serve with you. You know, because that's, you know, you can't predict, you know, who you'll get to serve with necessarily, the way these things sort of ebb and flow, and I've been very fortunate to be able to serve with you. And just this last week, we were both at the Student Government Day, and you said something that I thought was very important to the students, which was you told them, if you've lived in Norwood for at least a year, then you have the right to call Norwood your home. And to me, when I think of Selectman Donohue, I think of home, because you know, I only dream of being able to give that level of service to the Norwood community, so dedicated and just fully invested. And you know, so I was really glad to hear you talk to the students about the fact that, you know, you make Norwood a community by participating, and I think that you've been the best example of that for them. So
thank you.
I just really wanted to thank you for your service.
Although you are the fourth woman to be elected to Board of Selectmen, you will be the longest serving woman to have served on the board. So
quite a while.
Yes, by quite a few years. And so congratulations on that. And you are the first woman to serve in the 21st century, Norwood's 21st century, since you were elected, I believe, in 2001? Mm-hmm. Okay. In addition to, I think one of the things I'll take from serving with you is not only your ability to remember the town's history and to put it in the right context so nicely at all our meetings. I also appreciate your advocacy, strong advocacy for the Norwood taxpayer and the ratepayer. You really should be given a lot of credit for that. And one of the things I will miss going forward is the dialogue that you have with the general manager regarding the annual water rates. That will be something I will miss entirely. But I wanted you to know that I have observed that, and I've learned a lot from you in my first year of being on the board. I wish you well. And I was very proud to have served with you, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Mrs. Donohue, it's been a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you.
I was thinking about the things that I could say. And I was fortunate enough to be on the same election cycle as you this last time, the first time for me. And it was a very strange time with COVID and the election being moved. And there was just a lot of new things going on. And I think I felt a relief because you had already done this job for a long time and done it really well.
Thank you.
And so I really appreciate just the even-keeledness that you brought back to the board.
Thank you.
And I think one of the things I'll always remember is that you, more often than anyone else I can think of, always have questions that no one else maybe would have come up with. And I think that reflects on, like Mrs. Cola-Maria was saying, your experience and your dedication to the town, and I think that will be really missed because you have such a unique perspective, and I've really enjoyed spending time with you.
And we owe you and your family a lot, the community does. You've always treated people fairly. You've represented the town in admirable fashion in every way, at every event, wherever you've been. Perhaps more than anyone else, as I think Mr. Lane and others pointed out, you've stuck to your guns, to your beliefs. You've been willing to state them and state them strongly, even if you realize that you were in the minority. And that's a great service. That's a great service to the rest of the board because it makes us rethink our own positions. And even though we still may not change our position and agree with you, we're more convinced that we've made the right decision. And that's important for all of us to know that at the end of the day, we feel we did the right thing. And you've really contributed to that greatly with your willingness to be so open and forceful with your own opinions, no matter what they might be. You know, you've, as I said before, provided very invaluable service to each of the 14 selectmen you've served with. I think they all would have admit that they benefited greatly from working with you on this board. And you were motivated to do I believe, that what was ever in the best interest of the community. You always thought about the community and what was going to be best, and you defended, you worked hard to preserve the values and traditions that are unique to Norwood, and that was been very important. And, you know, I'm extremely grateful personally for having had this opportunity, but more so for being able to develop a very close personal relationship over these years. And I know the one thing that while your term on the Board of Selectmen may end tonight, those relationships will not. And I thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you, Billy.
Martha Calamaria, a Norwood volunteer and former Balch school teacher, also appeared at the meeting to read a letter to Helen to thank her on behalf of the town for all of her hard work over the years.
Good evening. I've come tonight as a representative of the residents of Norwood to speak about a friend. A friend is a chum, a confidant, a kind, helpful, and compassionate supporter. That best describes the service given by our selectman, Helen. Helen is a walking diary of the history of Norwood and its residents. Mention any event in Norwood, and Helen was there helping, and she will instantly share an anecdote about it and give you the details and the highlights. We are very grateful to Helen for her dedication to the town and celebrating special anniversaries, just like her ancestors. A book entitled The Centennial History of Massachusetts Town, published in 1973, mentioned the dedication of the Neponset Street overpass, Route 95, to the late selectman, John A. Abdullah. We both taught at the Balch School, the best school in Norwood, and attended many events, including the dedication of the Balch Edition in memory of her father. Through the years, she has arranged transportation to the polls for anyone that would be unable to vote, and she continues to check on older residents to make sure their needs are met. Helen, continuing the long tradition of service to our community. Of all of her accomplishments, she will always be remembered for her efforts to have the Christmas decorations in South Norwood. When she asked for the lighting, she was told, "There are beautiful decorations now on the Common and uptown." Finally, there are beautiful Christmas lights in South Norwood too, thanks to her effort. As a 70-year resident of Norwood, I would like to express my appreciation to Helen for her dedicated service on the Board of Selectmen for so many years. Thank you, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Selectman Donohue ended her 22-year run with the following words.
The last thing that I have to say is when Mr. McCarthy interviewed me through Norwood Community Media, which I also thank from the bottom of my heart for all of their help all over the years. Norwood Community Media, thank you. Jeff McCarthy said at that interview about the George M. Cohan, and that movie was on Norwood Cable last weekend, and at the end of the movie, James Cagney says the same thing that I'd like to say. My mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my family thanks you. Thank you to the town of Norwood for letting me serve you for these years. You've given me a chance to help out, and it's been one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And I just want to say thank you, voters. Thank you, kind people, for letting me out.
Thank you.